Tune into the movement of the breathing. Chest rising on your breath. So you can feel the warmth of the palm of your hand coming through. Just savor that sensation. Imagine we can breathe into the space in the center of our bodies, just in from the palm of your hand. And we can think of this simple movement as coming back to ourselves, coming back to our center. So usually the focus of our attention is pointed outwards, away from ourselves. Now we're just drawing the breath and drawing the energy back into that center. As we do this, we can deliberately cultivate a sense of bringing an attitude of kindness to ourselves. And breathing into that space in the center of the chest. And holding our own experience with kindness, patience, generosity. And as we do this, we can say silently to ourselves, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be free from harm. Imagine saying it in a very gentle, very tender voice. Now in your own time, bring the short arriving meditation to an end. How did you get on with that? So it's a very, very simple meditation actually. It's something that we can do, in quite a short space of time. If we're sort of stressed or overwhelmed, it's quite a simple shortcut actually. It's just put a hand over the central chest, come back to ourselves, just tune in for a few breaths. And that can really sort of connect us in a bit more deeply with our own experience and enable us to respond more kind of creatively to what's going on. So I wanted to say a little bit to introduce this practice of Metta Bhavana. Maybe a simple way into it is to say that, if we think about our experience, what we think of as our experience, we can think of as being made up of two parts, two sort of halves kind of coming into a relationship. So, in every moment, experience is coming to us from the outside, isn't it? Outside of our immediate control. But we can always actually affect the way that we're processing or responding to our experience. So, if it's a rainy day, we can get into, oh no, it's a rainy day, that's terrible, it's a terrible day, I feel awful. Or we can sort of think, oh, it's raining, how beautiful, great, And really, all of our experience is like that, actually. So we tend to think that, our life is something that we sort of get given by like sort of fate, kind of gives us our experience, and we can feel dissatisfied or discontented with it. But actually, our lives are partly kind of what we create, and you can have two people have the same experience and experience it in a very different way. You may have noticed, sometimes if you talk to two people who've been at the same event that you weren't at, you'll get a very different account depending on how that person responded to what was going on. So the Metta Bhavana practice is very much to do with working with that, the way that we respond to our experience, kind of what we bring to the relationship with the experience. And the basic gist of it is that we cultivate the skill of being able to respond equally positively to positive and negative experience. So, in a way, if we're with somebody we like, that we haven't seen for a long time, we're really pleased to see them, we respond to that with kindness. If we're trapped in a lift with somebody who annoys us, we maybe take a deep breath, and then we, practice wishing that person well. Wishing ourselves and wishing that person well. And one of the things that the practice depends on is that, in a sense, the attitude that we have to ourselves and our own experience is very much the same as the attitude that we have to the people around us, actually. So, you may have noticed that when we're annoyed with somebody, it's quite a painful state to be in. So if we really want to be happy and have well-being ourselves, then it makes sense actually to cultivate a more kindly attitude towards other people. There's a wonderful expression in one of the Buddhist texts that anger and resentment, it's like picking up a burning coal to throw at your enemy. And you may hit your enemy or you may not, but while you're holding that coal is burning your hand. So the practice is about aligning ourselves with our own desire to be happy, to live a happy, fulfilled life, and realizing that the expression of that is a sort of care and concern and sort of positive attitude towards the people around us. And that's kind of built into the structure of the practice. So in the practice, what we do is we have a first stage where we cultivate an attitude of loving kindness for ourselves. And then in the following stages, we think of a good friend, we think of a neutral person, we think of a difficult person, and we try to cultivate an equal attitude of kindness and well-wishing to all of those people. And crucially, it's kind of, we're trying to cultivate the same attitude of kindness, both to the person that we really love, and, you know, have a great time and enjoy spending time with, to the neutral person, who's somebody that we don't really take much notice of usually, or we're not really very interested in, and to the difficult person, who's somebody who we usually feel aversion for or want to try and avoid. So that's the idea. It's a kind of unconditional positive response. And then in the final stage, we cultivate an attitude of loving kindness for all living beings whatsoever. So we imagine ourselves radiating an attitude of loving kindness to all living beings. So that's the structure of the practice, but I'll kind of lead us through it in a minute. So I'll say at the start of each stage what we're doing and give us some sort of tips. Maybe I'll give you just a couple of pointers. So the first pointer is that the aim of the practice is to cultivate kindness and well-wishing. So it doesn't really matter if we get into, you know, trying to follow the form of the practice and we realise, yeah, we're just having difficulty staying with the form of the practice. It's important to try not to get sort of frustrated with ourselves. It's not about getting the practice right. It's about cultivating a kindly attitude to whatever happens. So, you know, if we sit there going, oh no, I've got the Metta wrong, oh, I'm such an idiot, you know, we're sort of missing the point of the practice. We can think, well, I'm such an idiot, but I love myself. It's just great, you know. And the other thing, and this is really a tip around meditation practice generally, it's really, really good if we're practicing with other people, that we really allow in a kind of awareness that we're with other people. Even doing it online on Zoom, you know, if you've got a group of people on Zoom and you're meditating together, there's a real power in meditating together with people. And you know, one of the little sort of tricks with the Metta Bhavana is that, you know, we don't have to imagine that we're doing the practice on our own, if you see what I mean. We don't have to do all of the work ourselves. We can have a sense that we're all practicing loving kindness together, and we can sort of tune in to the kind of positive energy of the collective practice and allow that to sort of carry us along a bit. So that can be really helpful. I mean, for all meditation practice, actually, if we're meditating with people, just to be aware that there's other people there and we're doing this thing together with others can really help the practice. So in a few minutes I'll lead us through the meditation. But do you have any questions before we start? Anything that I haven't explained or anything that you wanted to ask about? There's quite a lot to take in with the actual practice itself, so maybe we'll sort of take it slowly in these stages, and we'll do the practice again in the second half, and there'll be a chance to ask questions then as well. So if you'd like to find a comfortable meditation position again, and once again we start by tuning into the physical, felt experience of our bodies. just feel the weight of your body dropping into the cushion or the ground, and your spine rising up. The breath moving in the front of your body. Feeling into your hands. See if you can feel the fingers and the thumbs of your hands. You can take your awareness into your face. So just notice, very often we carry a little bit of tightness around our eyes. Just noticing if you can just soften your eyes a little bit. Let your jaw be a little more soft. Noticing if there's any tightness around your throat. Tuning into the movement of your breathing. Letting the movement of the breath connect you to a sense of calm and spaciousness. Now imagine, you don't have to do it, just imagine the palm of your hand touching the front of your body. And breathe into the place where the palm of your hand was, and the space in the centre of your chest. Tuning into the energy in your body, the life energy in your body. Tuning into your experience and meeting it with an attitude of kindness. As we breathe in, we can say silently, "May I be well, may I be happy, may I be free from harm." And then we leave a space, breathing that wish into the centre of our chest, allowing ourselves to be touched by that wish. Again, may I be well, May I be happy. May I be free from harm. To do this, try to include the whole of your body. Imagine you can breathe that wish for happiness and well-being into all the cells in all the different parts of your body. Now in the second stage, we call to mind a good friend, someone we like, someone we enjoy spending time with. And we can imagine them, we can picture them in our imaginations. Using our breath to stay in touch with our bodies, and especially staying in touch with that space in the centre of our chest as we imagine this person, this good, dear friend. Then we cultivate the wish, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from harm. Imagine we can extend an attitude of kindness and well-wishing to our dear friend. Now we can take a few moments to think of a neutral person, so somebody we don't know very well or who we don't have any particular like or dislike for. So somebody we feel neutral towards. Perhaps somebody in our local shop. Somebody we work with but we don't know particularly well. Just imagine this person, and we cultivate an attitude of kindness and well-wishing to this person. May you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from harm. Now calling to mind somebody we usually find difficult. And perhaps somebody who irritates us or winds us up. Somebody we're not getting on well with. Just choosing one person. And then imagining them, picturing them in your mind. And breathing into that space in the centre of our bodies. Making the wish. May you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from harm. You find your mind is wandering, just come back to your breath. And breathe into the centre of your chest and just come back to well-wishing. Wishing yourself well. And then wishing this difficult person well. In the final stage, we'll just start by coming back to ourselves for a few moments and connecting in with your breath. Maybe just scanning through your body again and noticing if there's any little patterns of tightness that have come into your body. Breathing into any areas that are tight or blocked, and as you breathe out, gently encouraging a sense of releasing and letting go. Breathing into that space in your body. Saying to yourself, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be free from harm. Then expanding our awareness to include a sense that we're all sitting here together. So we're practicing together in this space, in person, with each other. You can have a sense that all of us together are cultivating the same attitude of warmth and kindness. It's as though we can open to the energy of that wish in the air all around us. And then finally, imagine we can just remove any limits to that wish for loving kindness. And cultivating the wish, may all living beings be well and happy. May all living beings be free from harm. May all living beings enjoy happiness and bliss and well-being. You can imagine the energy of that wish expanding outwards through space. May all living beings be well. May all living beings be happy. May all living beings be free from harm. And in a couple of minutes I'll ring the bell to bring this practice to an end. But before I do, just come back to a much more simple awareness of yourself. So let go of wishing all living beings well. Just come back to your body, your contact with the ground, and the movement of your breathing. Just taking a moment to notice how you are now. And in particular, looking for any resonance from the practice. Any residual sense of warmth, well-wishing, well-being. We'll just sit in silence for another minute and then I'll ring the bell. Good. So who do we have on the Zoom link tonight? Just want to say hello to all the people watching in from different places.
We have some very patient people
Okay.
tuning in. So we've had a few problems with sound.
Okay.
So thank you so much to everyone for your patience.
Yeah, thank you.
We have Mark, Steph, Michael, Meredith, and Alison all tuning in online.
Good. Well, nice to see you. Thanks very much for tuning in. And before we break for a tea break, were there any questions that came up from that practice? Anything? Was there anything you found difficult about it? Anything you felt you struggled with?
I guess when it got to imagining the person, you don't necessarily like as much. That was when the mind started to wander.
Yeah, yes. That's interesting, isn't it? It's a bit like you're avoiding them. Even in your mind, you're avoiding them. Yeah, that's very common, I think. Yeah. It's me. May I be well? Yes. May my friend be well? Yeah. All right. Okay. The neutral one. Well, not so interested. Difficult. In a way, that the practice is kind of bringing us up against our kind of conditioned tendencies, isn't it? I think it's quite natural that we have a resistance to thinking about neutral and difficult people. You know, it's why they're neutral and difficult in the first place. It's because we have that reaction to them. But something could be helpful is if we can, when we're thinking about a neutral person or a difficult person, if we can just sort of change our perspective a little bit, I think that can be really helpful. Very often the kind of difficulties we have with people are to do with the kind of context we're with them in, or there's something about the situation we're in with that person that kind of puts us in opposition to them. And another helpful reflection, and I know a lot of psychologists say this, is that the things that we find difficult in other people reflect back to us aspects of ourselves that we're not happy with. If you see what I mean. So if somebody annoys us because they seem very selfish, or because they are very opinionated or something, we can think, oh, that's interesting. Why do I particularly get triggered by those qualities? And maybe that gives us a kind of clue about something that's happening in our own inner landscape, if that makes sense. Even to the point that, I think the Tibetan Buddhists, they talk about, the friendly enemy. Our enemy is our greatest friend, because our enemy shows us, our limitations. The enemy shows us, the areas where we still have to work. And we can certainly reflect that, in a way, whilst we're in the state of not liking somebody, to some degree we're in pain ourselves. You know what I mean? It's painful to be irritated or angry with somebody in a way. So if we really want happiness for ourselves, we'll try and sort of work with that. And you may notice, I think this is a human tendency as well, that when we have a kind of irritation with someone or antagonism with someone, if we look closely at what's going on in our experience, quite often we're doing something to kind of keep that going. If you see what I mean, we're sort of feeding the flames of our ill will, if you like. I think that's very common, isn't it? We'll go over and over the things that the person's done. And another thing that they do that really annoys me is this, and another thing. We'll sort of stoke it. So, but then all the time, the more we do that, the more we're keeping ourselves in a state of unhappiness somehow. So, with the hot coal, the smartest thing to do is just put it down as quickly as possible. Yeah.
I sometimes find that the good friend stage is one of the hardest for me.
Right.
I don't know whether you've heard that before, but I think it's because I find the neutral person easiest, because to me they're just this two-dimensional cardboard cutout of a person.
Yeah.
But with good friends, you have a complex relationship with friends where there's certain parts you might not get on with, certain issues you might have with them.
Yeah.
And I find it hard to just feel that unconditional, barrierless love for them. And I don't know whether is that a normal thing?
Yeah, no, I think it is. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, especially perhaps with our family members. I mean, if we we have generally quite complex relationships with our family members, or very close friends, we can have relationships that have got kind of complexities to them. I think that's definitely true. And I think one of the key things about this is that it's to come back to this thing that the aim of the practice is to cultivate loving kindness. So if we find ourselves having a complex relationship, complex emotional response to our friend, we can notice where we're at in relation to that, if you see what I mean. So, if there's part of us that's thinking, hang on a sec, this person's supposed to be my friend, and yet I'm actually a bit irritated with them. That's not okay. Do you know what I mean? What's wrong with me? The practice obviously isn't working. Maybe I'm just a mean person. If we find ourselves thinking that, then in a way we can turn towards that with kindness and well-wishing as well. Is that what I mean? It's a bit like the loving kindness is like a bigger perspective on whatever's going on. It's a bit like we have these complexities in our lives and our relationships, and we can get kind of caught in that complexity. But with loving kindness, it's in a way we're creating a bigger space and a more kind of unconditional space for the whole thing, kind of including our own, irritability and, do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Also, I think I don't know who it was, but somebody was talking about doing Metta, but feeling gratitude. So if you find it difficult, thinking instead, what things do I value about this person? What do they bring? And I find that for me is a much easier way to bring on those feelings of Metta.
Yeah, gratitude is very powerful. thing, isn't it? We can actually train ourselves to look for the things that we're grateful for in people. Look for the positive aspects of people.
You mentioned earlier that often our negative feelings towards people are down to framing issues, and it's a lot of the time it's dictated by the context in which we interact with them.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that a bit and maybe suggest ways that you could reframe your relationship with them?
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, one way is to just reflect on them as a human being. Say you have somebody you work with, and you have a difficult relationship with them. A lot of those difficulties could come out of the particular way that your relationship is in that work situation. But if you met them, outside that situation, in the same social situation, or you went back home with their family or something, you'd see them in a completely different way. Do you see what I mean? So it's giving people a little bit more space to step out of, or to acknowledge that people are bigger than the roles that they play in our lives. That's even with the neutral person. I mean, you mentioned, we can see them as a sort of cardboard cutout. Well, in a way, one way of going into the stage of the neutral person is just imagine, what the guy at the corner shop that we buy our paper off every day, maybe we say hello to him or whatever, but he's got his whole life. Do you know what I mean? He was a baby, and one day he'll die, and he goes on holiday with his family. He's got there's a whole three-dimensional person kind of behind that role. We have this sort of relationship that's based on our roles, but actually we can imaginatively start to enter into that. And actually another human being is an incredible mystery, aren't they? I mean, other human beings are so, you could go on getting to know another human being for the rest of our lives and still have things that would surprise us about them. So but usually we don't quite engage in that way with people, Good questions. So it's past now, so I think we're going to have a break for 20 minutes. How are we going to work with the team? First of all, we say goodbye to the people who are with us online. So thank you very much for joining us. I think we turn off the Zoom link at this stage.